Daddy Show. Step off.
Come on, won't you say it loud? Ayo, we gon' turn this out. Tom Clark's main event. Dropkick now and powerbomb. Ayo, bro, let's bring this on. Hey, hey, what is up? Oh, captain, my captain, show the stuff. Power slammer, suplex 2. Hot garbage is just for you. Big breaker, cut a cold red. Figure 4, hot times ahead. Since 2014, it's on. It's a 10 count, but stand up strong. Hey kid, no DQ, strong style. Chop, this is how it goes. Tom Clark's main event. Tom Clark's main event. Tom Clark's main event. Tom Clark's main event.
Hey, what is up, kids? Welcome back to the program. Tom Clark back here with you on a Friday. How's my hair? Am I good? I was looking at it earlier. I'm a little worse for wear. I'm not really worse for wear. I always look good, don't I? Come on, don't lie. Look at that. Hey, all I'll tell you is this. If you are of a certain age and you're a male and you want to compare how our hair is going, we'll do that. Because I'm going to tell you something. I'm not too awful displeased with the amount of hair I still have at my age. And plus, I still have retained my boyish good looks. Look, everything's coming up. It's just kosher for Tom these days, man. Can't you tell? Happy Friday, kids, one and all. I appreciate you very much hanging out again today. Hope you and yours are doing well. Let's get a few things happening on the screen here. Let's get the ticker ticking. You are tuned in to episode number 343. Apologies for not being here last week. We had crazy tropical storm / hurricane weather coming through in the mid-Atlantic region here. So here at the office, me and the boy get here about around 40 minutes left before we were due to go live last week. And guess what? No power. So we hung out for like 20 minutes. And, you know, show prep is for me to get show prep done in 20 minutes. It's a big ask. Okay. So needless to say, I didn't get show prep done. Actually, there was no point because I didn't have power. I didn't have power. But anyway, thanks for being patient. Thanks for being understanding. I didn't get any hate mail. It was quite wonderful. So you guys are the best. I appreciate you. Let's see who is here today hanging out with us. Guten Tag, Sandy in Germany. Good to see you. Robbie, what's up? Ray All Day is here. Sugar Shane is here. Our usual cast of suspects has arrived. JP is here. Guys, I appreciate you hanging out as and the ladies are here. Brienne is here. Everybody tell Brienne hello. Brienne, we hope she brought some more ladies with you because we're all about the ladies here on the show. Man, we've had moments here on the show, man. We'll have like half the audience is female. And you look at that and say, well, what's the big deal? It's not a big deal. I mean, it shouldn't be a big deal in 2024, right? Plenty of female pro wrestling fans out there, yeah? So, yeah, I just like to fill the room up. No matter what gender you are to me, it doesn't matter to me. I don't judge anyway. All genders are welcome. I feel very shiny today. Am I shiny? I'm pale as a ghost. Look at me. It is insane. When I'm dead, they won't know. I look like I'm haunting the place right now. Hey, look, man, we do what we can. Do me a favor, kids. Smash the like button, if you will. That would mean loads to me. And also, please share this on your feed. If you're not watching live, you don't have to do none of that. But what I will ask you to do if you're listening after the fact on the audio version, please subscribe. What's your favorite podcast platform of choice out there? Tell me. I'd love to know. Is it Spotify? Is it iHeartRadio? Is it Audible? Is it Amazon Music? Because, brother, we're all those places. No kidding. We're on all those platforms. And of course, Apple Podcasts. So yeah. And also we have websites dedicated to each of the podcasts. BoinkStudios.com, B-O-I-N-K, BoinkStudios.com. Please visit. Please visit and if you will, bookmark the page. We update it all the time. So much appreciated to you. BoinkStudios.com. We'll run a promo here shortly. You know how we roll. Let's go ahead and get going today, folks. Maria has just shown up. I appreciate you, Maria. Christopher Sims, what's going on, Chris? Good to see you. We have joining with us, brother. Is that B-A-L? Brother, I apologize for not being able to read. Is that B-A-L? Yeah. Shout out to everyone in the chat. I'm sorry, B-K-L. You wrote it out. My apologies. Sport Entertainment. Hey, man, thanks for watching, brother. I appreciate you. Very cool of you. All right, kids. Well, it is Friday. If you paid attention to the promos that I was running this week, advertising this here little episode, then you know that today is edition number, the 7th edition number 7, however you want to say it, of ATA, which is Ask Tom Anything. At the end of the podcast here on the main event, I always open the floor and give you kids the chance to ask any questions you may have. Talk about anything you want to within reason. We typically don't get political. We typically don't do a lot of wacky stuff here. No crazy conspiracy theories. All right. Let's keep it PG. Let's be adults here. We try to keep it as much pro wrestling as we can. If you have non-pro wrestling related comments, questions, words of wisdom, I'm all ears. No worries. But we'll try to keep it pro wrestling related. And depending on how everyone talks here today, we've got some things on deck that we can queue up as well. Sandy says, can't wait for Bash in Berlin. When is that coming to you, Sandy? Are you going to go, by the way? Are you going to be able to go to the show? I know that company's cooking, man. Let me tell you. I know they're cooking. We've got some headlines we can get to today if you guys want to input your thoughts on those. We did not, since we were not able to go live last week, we were not able to talk about the late, great Kevin Sullivan. So we can start off that today if you guys want to. If you are of a certain age and you are a pro wrestling fan, chances are you grew up watching the Games Master Kevin Sullivan and the Varsity Club. What a great gimmick, dude. Back in the day when Jim Crockett Promotions was no pyro and it was copyrighted music that no one cared if you used it. I mean, if they did, no one brought lawsuits to my knowledge because you just throw anything in the tape deck you wanted to and came out to it. But yeah, he had the Varsity Club. It was Mike Rotunda, of course, the late great Bray Wyatt's dad. Who else was in that? Scott and Rick Steiner were both in the Varsity Club, I believe. Wasn't Dr. Death Steve Williams in the Varsity Club? Who else Shane, you're here. Who else am I forgetting was in the Varsity Club? Shane's a fellow old school guy. I'm sure there's someone else I'm not thinking of. Oh, there you go. Jeffrey mentions the Taskmaster nickname. There you go. Yeah, for sure. Was Taskmaster or Dungeon Master? Oh, wait. Yeah. Was it Dungeon Master? Why do I want to say Dungeon Master? But yeah, rest in peace, of course, to the late, great Kevin Sullivan. And our condolences, of course, to his family, his friends, and his fans, for sure, of which we were. No doubt about it. JP says, what is your opinion on Bryan Danielson? Bryan Danielson losing at All In after his announcement on Dynamite. I mean, that video package is well done. And it sure feels like a send-off video package. It feels like something you play when a guy's on the way out. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to lose, but I got to be honest with you. First off, this is not addressed to anybody here. The amount of people who are so bent out of shape over this angle is quite frankly, I can't say shocking. Nothing shocks me anymore, right? But it's a little surprising how many people are seriously up in their feels about they can't figure out what's going to happen. It's just pro wrestling, kids. Let's calm down. Let's take a breath, right? They can play this however they want to. I hope here's what I'll tell you. I hope that however this plays out, that Swerve, if he's not done as champion, he holds the belt at least until next year. That's number one. Number two, if he does drop the title to Danielson, then I would hope that this is not his last reign and that he has it back either by the end of this year or next year. That would be my hope. Because, the idea of transitional champion, by the way, hate that term. I've always hated that term. And I just don't, here's what I'll tell you for sure. In the entire time that I was ever behind the curtain, no matter what pro wrestling company it was, I never heard the words transitional champion. Ever. I never heard the word script. I never heard the word scripted. Ever. I didn't use those words and I never heard them. So there may have been conversations on, we're going to put the belt on this guy for a while. We've got a plan. He's going to have it for a couple of months and then we'll, but this idea of transitional champion, sometimes fans take words that are thrown around online or that they hear from their friends and they just roll with them, man. So I think that's what's happening. I don't want Swerve to have been an in-between guy. I just don't. Sandy says he's going to watch Bash in Berlin live at home. Hey, look, man, at least you get to watch it. Brian says, do I think the Lucha Brothers will join WWE? It seems like the stars are lining up for them to go to that company. Now, I'm not saying they're going to. And look, Tony Khan is well within his rights to tack on injury time onto Phoenix. I don't think he will, but I don't know that for sure. It's maybe a bad look for a company that's trying to build up as much goodwill as they are all the time. So maybe it's not the best move, but Khan is within his rights to do it. And if he did it, people would hate him and people would be upset. But business is business. WWE did that stuff for years. And I'm sorry, they did that stuff for years and no one had a problem with it. Well, I can't say they didn't have a problem with it, but it sucked, especially like injuries are not your fault, right? So like technically speaking, he could be there another year under contract and not be allowed to wrestle anywhere. Do I think that's going to happen? I do not think that's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they were there, though, if they end up there. Ease at the show. Welcome, Eve. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you. Nothing on Kelly. I got to be honest with you, Chris. I think maybe she's done. I haven't looked in a long time. RIP Alpha, he says 100%. Sorry to hear about that for sure. Yeah, no doubt about it. Rail Day says, why are they making Swerve look like a heel? Brother, it just hurts my head thinking about it. I don't know. I'm not. I ranted the last time we were here for like the last 10 minutes we were on the air. And that wasn't my intention, but I'm like, I got stuff to get off my chest. And that was all of it. That was the majority of it was, once you mess with the heel face dynamic, look, man, it's one guy's opinion. They don't have to listen to anything any of us say. I think it's wonky. I think it's weird. I think, Swerve's the man. I mean, he's crushing it. Would you say to Swerve to his face that, listen, you need to either be heel or babyface? And I don't mean, would you do it because he'll smack you? Nothing like that. But like, if you could be honest and as an interviewer or as a fan, if and he was being real with you in that moment, how would you phrase that? Would you say, because, I guess I'm saying all that to say this. These guys and gals kind of know how they want to be portrayed. They don't have 20 writers in that company and literally being handed scripts to read as if they're on a soap opera or a sitcom. Do you know what I mean? There's not a table read in AEW. So like, a lot of what you see, I suspect is coming from them. I can't say that for sure, but that's what we've always been led to believe is that Tony's booking everything, of course, and he's directing traffic, but he allows these guys to be who they want to be and have input. It's bizarre. I'm with you. I'm not a fan of the not clearly defining their roles for sure. Shane, hit me. Thank you, my friend. Rick Steiner, Dr. Death, Michael Tone, and Kevin Sullivan. There you go. Yeah. I was thinking there was another person, but I guess that was it. Yeah. Maria says, I was the biggest Dusty Rhodes fan. Same. Kevin Sullivan was his biggest villain and had underrated chemistry. Oh, and Kevin had a great mind for the business, too. If you could have Kevin Sullivan in your locker room as a booker, you have him because he's just that good. You know what I mean? Massive Dusty guy here for sure. Massive Dusty guy. I'll always be a fan. Brienne says, will Roman be on Raw or SmackDown now that he is back? That's a double-edged sword, Brienne, because to take him off SmackDown is to take him off the show that he owned for like 5 years straight or whatever the number was. At the same time, however, if you don't have plans of taking that belt off Cody anytime soon, how do you leave Roman on that show? Not saying it's impossible, but how do you leave him on there? And as long as the bloodline's there, Roman's going to be there, I assume. And conversely, if you put him on Raw, it's Seth Rollins. You know what I mean? Like, so what's the plan now? Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Like, what? How do you fit him in? You know what I mean? Like, not fit him in, but you know what I mean. Wouldn't that be like instant heat or instant history? Not they could do anything they want to. But I'm interested to see what will happen. I suspect SmackDown, Brienne, to answer your question. Maria says, should May win the Women's Championship at All In? Should she? The way it's being built, it seems like she's going to. I'll be honest with you. It almost feels as though that she's champion and Tony's chasing her. Does anybody else get that vibe, or is it just me? Because it kind of feels like she's chasing Mariah for the belt. Hey, look, it's whatever you guys think, but that's how it. How's that? That better? That's how it has felt to me this entire time, because the way things are being set up, I don't know, the beat down, the blood, the heel to the head, these promos that Mariah's cutting, which are cold blooded. Where's my Rick James fans at? Yeah, dude, listen, whew, yikes! It's well done, but it kind of feels as though it's being set up for the heel champ or for the heel champion to lose her title. But that's not what I don't know. In a roundabout way to answer your question, it feels as though, yeah, for sure, this is going to be Mariah's match to win. Franny Atfield? Welcome to the show. What are we talking about? Pro wrestling, dude? Whatever you want to talk about. We got you pro wrestling. This is Ask Tom Anything, number 7, number 7th edition. I'll get it out. Basically, we open the floor up this entire episode. Whatever questions you guys have, we hit it. Sandy, I did not religiously watch the Olympics. I did watch the championship game for the men's final. And I'll just say that Steph Curry is an effing beast. He's a beast. Everyone giving Steph Curry a hard time needs to check themselves because, like, dude, he's an absolute legend just walking around. The only thing Steph Curry does is win games. I'm sorry. Clutch. I'm saying. I mean, can you make the argument he put that team on his back and carried them to the gold medal? I'll make that argument. Team did well. Curry's the guy that stepped up when it mattered the most. And I did see some highlights here and there. And yeah, for sure. But congrats to all the athletes, man. I mean, the dedication and, a lifetime of work and training that goes into competing in the Olympics. I mean, it's more dedication than I've ever had, at least physically, because I'm not what you would call a physical specimen, despite all this. So, follow-up question from earlier. Brienne says, are they turning Toni Storm to babyface again? I think she's been babyface the whole time. I think the stuff with other girls that she's worked got weird. And I was going to say they didn't know how to book it, but that's not probably true. That just the way they booked it made her out to be like she was something other than a face. I personally think she's been face the whole time. JP says because they were trying to make a heel face match between Danielson and Swerve match, but we see the smoke and mirrors. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm still not sold on the idea of it. Just not. Not on that match. That match is going to be a banger. All right. Maria says just let Swerve be a Stone Cold and Rock do heel stuff as a babyface. But see, I guess, Maria, but now you're talking tweener, and I don't think tweener works. I've vented on that here before on the show many times. I think tweener's fine for short term. I do not think it's fine for long term. My opinion. I don't think you can long term book that way. I think it worked. Attitude Era is a different era. 80s, I can't really say 80s. Maybe 70s was a different time, but I don't know. And again, this is one guy's opinion. You guys can completely agree or disagree. Whatever you want to do is fine. But for me, I was going to say clear cut heel and clear cut face. Doesn't necessarily have to be that, but I do believe it needs to be. That's a heel. That's a face. That's a heel. That's a heel. I should be able to do that with your roster. And if I'm so wrong, you mean to tell me that the issues that AEW has had as a company in terms of connecting with the audience, you mean to tell me that doesn't impact any of it? Be honest. Be honest. And if the answer is, Tom, you're crazy, it has nothing to do with it, then what is it? Because they got all the talent in the world. Is it the sporadic booking? I'll buy that. But I believe, for my money, a lot of the problem is the way they book heels and faces and how it's confusing. Sugar Shane says September 21st in Jackson, Tennessee, Randy Hales is doing Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame show. Inductees are Rock and Roll Express and the Spellbinder, and they're doing a special tribute to Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee. Wow, that's awesome. You going to go to that, Shane? Do you live in Tennessee? Have I ever asked you that? What is one good thing you could say about the Green Bay Packers? They're an NFL football team. That's all I got for you. JP said Roman B is SmackDown for the foreseeable future because of his rivalry with the Bloodline. I agree with that, but I wouldn't put it past that company to do weird stuff to shake things up whenever they feel like it, because we've seen it happen before. He also said Mariah May should win, and I get that vibe also about Tony Chase and Maria. Thank you. Maria, this is our Maria right here. As well, Mariah Maria, you get it. Kev Sullivan paved the way for gimmicks like Mankind, Bray Wyatt, and the House of Black. I can't think of anybody before Sullivan that did it. That did that demonic. I'm sure there was somebody, but maybe not to the level of success that he had with it. I think you're right. I've always believed that without Kevin Sullivan doing those gimmicks, you never get Bray Wyatt. I've always believed that. For sure. In fact, I can't say that I didn't attribute Bray to Mankind and Mick Foley, because I did, but I also said, if not for Kevin Sullivan, you don't get Bray Wyatt. So I completely agree with that. Brianna says, are they going to have Roman's Bloodline versus Solo's Bloodline at Survivor Series War Games? It's right there, isn't it? It's right there. Do it. What's the problem? Do you know what I mean? What's the problem? It seems to me like it's the way to go. But we'll see. Ray says, why does WWE have 3 heel tag teams fight for the belts? Crazy. And Chief Curry, Chef Curry is a stud. He's awesome. He's so good. Ray says Draymond keeps letting Steph Curry down. Well, I've heard worse about it said than that, so I can't say I totally disagree with you. JP says Green Bay is coming to Denver tomorrow to get beat up by the Broncos. Well, we'll see. JP says Tweeners is the reason why AEW is struggling with attendance and ratings. See, I think you're right. Now, I will say that I don't think it's 100%. What percentage is it? I don't know. I don't think it's 100. I don't know that it's 50. But if it's 35 to 40%, then yeah. Because think about this, man. who guys are and gals, who they are in terms of heels and faces, directly impacts the storylines they're booked in, right? The angles that they're running. So when the angles are sporadic and things feel off, the heel face thing plays directly into us. Maybe 35 to 40% is too low. But I agree with you. I happen to think there's a lot going on. A lot going on with that, honestly. Rob says, I have a story for it. It's 100% true. I'm from Abilene, Texas, and the local wrestler we had there was a guy named Don the Lawman Slatton. When he finished wrestling, he opened up a bail bonds company saying he'd bail anyone out of jail. My dad told me one night my grandfather went to a bar, saw Don Slatton there. They got into a fight. My grandfather hit him so hard, he hit the top of the front door of the bar. My grandfather was a used car dealer and assistant pastor, so to hear that, I saw, and you cut off. Let me know if you got the rest of it. What a story, man. By the way, why in the world would you challenge a pro wrestling guy in a bar? That's just, and it sounds like your grandfather got the best of it, which is good. But man, especially back in the day, that's not something that you do. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, especially like Bill Watts guys in Mid-South, he told him, if you lose a fight out in the real world, you're fired. Shane will tell you that. Right? Like if you lose a fight in a bar or anywhere else outside the wrestling ring, you're fired. Because they kept that kayfabe to that extent. And look, who can blame them? Once you peek behind the curtain, once you open Pandora's box, you can't put the lid back on. Right? Toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube, baby. So once you know, you know. Once you're exposed, you're exposed. And it's like a raw nerve for the world to see. Only one thing you can do that then is just clip the nerve and move on. May not be fair, but what's fair in pro wrestling, honestly? I will not put your comment up on my screen, and you can't make me. Shane says 50 miles south of Nashville. I've never been to Nashville, and I've never been to Memphis. I'd like to go to Memphis because I'm a blues guy. But I've heard things about Memphis that the town is not what it used to be. And that, God, this seems to be recent, but I can't remember who I heard it from or where or to what context I heard it. But I just remember the comments are like, yeah, Memphis is not the town that it used to be. It's run down or it's overpopulated. I forget what the comments were. But anyway, they weren't entirely positive. So Gavin is here. What's up, Gavin? Good to see you, my friend, Northern Ireland. No worries, man. You're here. You've only you didn't miss that much. Maybe 30 minutes, give or take. So kids, before we continue, we've reached the bottom of the hour. Can you believe that? Neither can I. And we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping right now. I want to remind everybody here, if you will, please smash that like button and share this show on your feed. And by the way, if you have never subscribed to Tom Clark's Main Event, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, please do so. You'll get the audio delivered to the device of your choosing whenever we upload. You'll get it. And honestly, you hear podcasters say this stuff all the time, that you simply subscribing does a lot for me. Trust me when I tell you, it does a lot for me. Okay. So if you would subscribe, that'd be lovely. Awesome. And if you subscribe to our YouTube, actually, that means a heck of a lot too. And remember, I'm not asking for a dime for anything I produce here. One of these days, because I'm back into writing again, one of these days I might try the paywall stuff just so I can start making a little bit of money on the side from this stuff. But I'm being honest with you when I tell you, because I've always shot straight with my audience, yeah. But all I'm asking for is a follow and subscribe. That's what I'm asking for. If you guys could do that, that'd be awesome. We got a few more things to talk about along those lines. But first, watch this. Never mind. That was the wrong button. I was just kidding anyway. Watch this.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today. BoinkStudios.com.
I got too many buttons. I got too many buttons. Let me prove it. Watch this.
Hot garbage.
That's what just happened. That's what's up. So apologies for that. I got slender fingers. I've always had girly fingers, but sometimes I get an itchy trigger finger and I just end up hitting the wrong button at the wrong time. Don't be hating. Please don't be hating. Speaking of the writing, I want to share something else here with you. And I'm going to share it in the feed here. If you happen to enjoy reading, oh man, have I got two sites you need to go check out. Because again, the fact that you subscribe on these sites would mean loads to me, and you're not putting any money in my pocket. But when you subscribe and you follow and you read my stuff and you like my columns, that would mean loads to me, and it helps me quite a bit. So I'm on Substack and I'm also on Medium. I'm not doing any pro wrestling writing right now. I may get back into that groove again. I did it for like 10 years. I'm diving into other areas now, and I'm doing a little something for everybody. A little bit of it's marketing, a little bit of it's life, some of it's humor, some of it's a little bit more serious in tone. For example, I published a story about my cats today. Now, do I go around doing that all the time? No. However, I did it today, and it's worth your read. I think so. I don't like to put out stuff that's embarrassing or that sucks. I like to put out stuff that's fun. Okay? So if you would go check those things out, again, I say much appreciated. Thanks much. Sugar Shane says, who is a better booker, Kevin Sullivan or Cowboy Bill Watts? That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I don't know if I can compare and contrast. I mean, I could, but what's the point? Like, it's hard for me to do that. Cowboy Bill Watts was ahead of his time until he wasn't. And you know what I mean by that. He was ahead of his time until the business kind of passed him by, and then he was left. Not as bad as Vern in the AWA, but to a certain degree, yeah, I think he was kind of past. But that's not to discount what he accomplished and what Vern accomplished, either one, or what Kevin accomplished. I think Kevin was maybe more plugged in. Like when he got older, he wasn't as disconnected, but I could be wrong. But that's a tough one, man. Great question, though. Great question. JP says tweeners is a problem in AW, but if you let it fester and grow, it could become the biggest problem eventually. Great observation. I'm totally down with that. Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. Ray says, come to New York. I'd love to get back to New York sometime, man. Ray, some of the last bit of stuff I heard about Starks is that he could be WWE bound. Now, I don't know that for certain, but I'll be honest with you. There's more stuff going on behind the scenes with him, I think, than we're privy to, which is surprising because everybody in that company talk all the time. And I'm right, and that's it. Talk all the time. To everybody that'll listen. Now, there's people that come that don't do that, and if they saw this, they go, well, that Tom, you know what he can do? Hey, right? I'm just saying. Don't be surprised to see Starks in WWE. Fernando Zayas. Yeah, Fernando, welcome to the show. Much appreciated. Brian Sesford, big fan from Scotland. Dude, you are awesome. Thanks for tuning in. What are my thoughts on Danielson's match at All In? It's going to be a banger. He and Swerve are going to absolutely crush it. I'll be honest with you, Swerve has had some big time matches before this. Okay? But this may end up being the best match of his career. And that's a lot to say because Swerve's worked a lot of freaking people, honestly. I think Danielson will push him, and I mean that from a creative standpoint. I think he'll push him creatively, and I think Swerve will be good for Danielson too. I think this is going to be off the charts. This is going to be a great freaking match. Could be match of the year, honestly. I can't wait to see it. Thanks for tuning in, Byron. I appreciate you. I says, okay, so you're a big territory guy. Guilty. Out of Smoky Mountain, WCCW, AWA, and Memphis Wrestling, which territory do you think had more wrestlers that went to the big company? Well, that you could do. You could just do the math on that. My opinion, just do the math on that. Smoky Mountain came along at the tail end of everything and was the last true territory in a time when territories were gone, right? And it was just developmental more than anything else, and was used primarily for WWE. And I think Smoky Mountain later became its own entity, I believe. Yeah. Like when Cornette owned, of course, they were WWE guys. I would say that Memphis Wrestling, perhaps, because I was thinking about the number of guys. Yeah. Oh, God, that's tough, man. Because a lot of the world class guys went to WWE. That's a tough one. I think you just do the math. Which one was the better at it? I don't know. I think because everything changes when you talk about how guys end up like in world class. They know what to do with Steve Austin. That's just an example. You know what I mean? They were booking Gordy as an underneath guy. I think when he got there, like at the tail end of his career, which was tough to watch. What was the mask gimmick that he had? Shane, remind me of that mask gimmick that they gave Gordy, that Gordy was running in that company. Was it him or Neidhart that had a mask gimmick? I can't remember. Great question, Robbie. Yeah, see, sorry about the countdown, man. I got the fingers, man. I screwed it all up. Ray, you keep mentioning Rocky, and I keep forgetting you keep mentioning Rocky. I can't forget this time that you keep mentioning Rocky. The Rocky series, that's a lot to do in one episode, but I definitely would be down to do Rocky Part 1 because that gives us more for later. Do you know what I mean? That gives us more for later. Because you got Rocky 1, you got Rocky 2, you got Rocky 3, The Search for Spock, right? You got Rocky 4, Rocky 5, then you got Rocky Balboa, then you got Creed 2, Creed 3. Yeah. I'd love to do that first Rocky movie, man. I think that'd be fun. Fernando, back to you. Thanks everybody for being patient with me today. I appreciate you. If Danielson wins at All In, who should he have his final match with? I think it's Mox. My opinion, I think it's Mox. But I could be wrong because that's how we kind of started here. All this Blackpool Combat Club stuff, remember? Because they were just going at each other until they decided, well, that's enough of that. Let's be buddies. I think Mox would make a lot of sense. My opinion. It may end up being someone else. Shane says, speaking of the Varsity Club, do you think that the Creed brothers and Chad Gable remind you that they do to an extent? Yeah, I'll take that. The problem is in that company, that Chad Gable's been treated like such a goof for so long. The butt of the joke, the Kurt Angle stuff, that kind of stuff never happened in the Varsity Club. Right? So like for me, that's kind of where I see the obvious difference. Now, could they be as big? I mean, I guess with the right amount of booking, of course they could. JP says, can we please hire some decent audio people and back to wrestling? I cannot hear the people in the microphone or the commentators. Look, AEW's production, I don't let these guys off the hook, right? That Ring of Honor show was a few weeks ago was awesome. Production was crap. And you see Dynamite sometimes and there's glitching and there's static in the sound and the cameras are cutting at the wrong time, excuse me. And it's like, how are you not ready for this? You produced a lot of television in 5 years. How are you not ready? Impact, same, right? I feel you on that for sure. Ray, have you read my writing? Shut up. Don't say that because we're friends. Be straight with me. By the way, thank you if you're being honest. Shane says, have I heard rumors of Vince McMahon's health? I have not. I don't wish ill on anyone, but I don't really say that guy's name too often much anymore. So, yeah. To answer your question, I have not. Wilf, how you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Fernando says, Eric Watts was the original Shane McMahon, but a big difference. Can we agree on that? Yeah? Big difference between Eric Watts and Shane, by God, McMahon. Can we agree on that? Yeah, for sure. And look, just because your dad was somebody or your mom was somebody does not mean you're cut out for that business. It just doesn't. Doesn't mean you suck. Doesn't mean you're a piece of crap. Doesn't mean you should just go be forgotten somewhere and go pump gas for a living. That joke doesn't age well, does it? Anyway, it just means that this business isn't for everybody, right? It wasn't for Eric Watts. I think the first person that would admit that to you is probably Eric Watts. Rebecca says, hey, Rebecca, how are you? Do you think wrestlers evolve and grow and change, or is it all just a storyline change? Are you talking about the actual people and their real attitudes? What a great question. It's an odd question, but it's a good one. I think that one can influence the other. Because I think, remember the Jake Roberts stuff they were doing when he was supposedly a born-again Christian? And then, like, wasn't that, like, based in reality, but then he kept falling off the wagon, I think? Then they did that weird stuff with Scott Hall where they were putting his drinking problems front and center on live TV on Nitro, which was odd. Like, it's a weird way to answer your question, but, like, that's a great, yeah, it's interesting. I think it depends on storyline, from storyline to storyline. I think it depends. That's not trying to be a cop-out. That's just me being honest. Great question, though. Byron says, what are your thoughts on next NXT UK being no more? I feel like it produced some of the most top caliber. I agree. Byron, did you get to a lot of those events when they were doing their thing over there or no? I'm curious. Yeah, by the way, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. Fernando says, Brian, I'm calling him Brian Danielson, Fernando. To each his own, but I'm calling him by his present working name. Is going to elevate Swerve's career the same way Stone Cold elevated The Rock as a legit main. Yeah, but look, and that I'm not disagreeing with you, but in my opinion, Swerve's already a top guy. That's how I feel. I'm going to say some words that maybe people won't agree with. I kind of think it's going to be a level playing field in that match. Swerve had a long career before he ever got on live TV, which if people don't know it, that's fine, but it's true. Dude, he was working Cody in the independent circuit before Cody, when he left and still had that black hair with the cigar. I mean, Swerve has worked a lot of people throughout his career. And on the independent circuit, there was a buzz on that guy that Swerve is somebody to watch. So I'll say the words level playing field. Does it mean that he's better than Danielson? In my opinion, he's not better. Are they equals in that ring? Swerve may say no, but I'll say I think maybe they are. And again, you can disagree with that if you want, but I don't know if that's going to be, if this will be as much as Danielson is helping him along as it is maybe Danielson is solidifying Swerve, if nothing else, solidifying his spot that he's already got. Neidhart wore a mask on Memphis for a time, Shane says. But man, didn't he do something? Didn't WCW bring him back in under a mask and it was like just getting the guy a paycheck? I can't remember that gimmick now to save my life. And it says Rocky 3 is the best in my opinion. Good movie, for sure. You don't like Clubber Lang in part 2? I like part 2. Seen part 3 a lot. Byron, is that, what do I think of Will Ospreay? I think Will Ospreay is awesome. I thought it was awesome in New Japan. I think he's awesome now. I think this guy, the only one, in my opinion, the only one that could ever stop Will Ospreay is Will Ospreay. I think a booker with the biggest eraser on his pencil that you've ever seen couldn't stop this guy because fans want him. And because if he's not happy, he'll go somewhere else and get more over. Because when you're that good, you can do those things. You know what I mean? Look, if he left AEW today, do you think his career's over? No chance. Will's going to be just fine. You know what I mean? That's how good he is. That's how good he is for sure. JP says it's hard to take Chad Gable seriously, so it's going to take a while for people to take him. You know what? I'm with you. Maria says, "Do you think Shinsuke Nakamura has been wasted in WWE?" I get that question quite a bit, and here is my answer. And it's going to sound like cookie cutter answer. Just make your cookies and keep trucking. And I don't mean it to, but I wasn't the first guy to say it. Who am I? I think I was one of the first guys to repeat things like this, maybe. So I'll repeat what I've been saying for years. Shinsuke he's getting paid more money from that company than he got in New Japan, number one. Number two, he's raising his family here. Number three, he's happy for everything I've ever heard about this guy. He's happy. Four, he loves to surf. He gets to surf as much as he wants to, and he's doing his thing. And look, the strong style stuff in Japan is the real deal. Okay. When they say strong style, bro, they mean it. It doesn't mean that you're intentionally hurting people. That's dangerous style. That is, we don't book you anymore style. Strong style is you just lay it in a little bit harder than you would in another company, right? That's how they roll. So like, Shinsuke now versus Shinsuke had he never left New Japan, is he still working full time at a top level or is he beaten up? Good question. I think Shinsuke in the end will end his career in Japan, but I don't know that for sure. That's my guess. He'll end his career in Japan and maybe even a run in AEW. But for all I know, he's signed for the next 10 years. So that's my answer to that, is that he's always seemed to be happy. And if a guy's happy, let him stay. Augie Andy, what's going on? Do you think the Usos are going to get back together and team with Roman and go for the new bloodline? Yes. I do. I do believe, and I said this 2 weeks ago, I believe there may be a bit of an issue, in my opinion, with the scales not being evenly matched. Because that new bloodline has to be dangerous. They have to have there has to be the possibility they beat Roman and his team. And in order to tip the scales in their favor, there could be a heel turn coming, but I don't know who it would be. It could be anybody, I guess. But really think about that, man. Really think about that. Does anyone truly believe that Roman's team would lose to the new bloodline? The answer is, well, we're pretty sure that he's not going to, Roman's team's going to go over. Yeah. But if you don't at least give the resemblance, the appearance that they could lose, then what are we having the match for? Maria says they did the same thing with Road Warrior Hawk. With the mask thing, I don't know if I knew that. Did I know that? How do I not know that? Oh, thank you, Ray. I appreciate you. Brian says, unfortunately not. They never did a takeover in Scotland. I think that's why we got Clash at the Castle. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Clash at the Castle. I mean, I don't care. Call it what you want, but whatever. Jerry says Ted DiBiase and Ted DiBiase Jr. Ted Sr. was an awesome wrestler and Ted Jr. sucked. I don't know if I agree Ted Jr. sucked. Teddy, right? I thought he was fine. Was he his dad's wrestler? Not really. But I don't think he sucked. Sugar Shane says Eric Watts is just like Eric Bischoff's son in TNA. Oh, that's right. That Aces and Eights stuff lasted like 2 years or something. It was crazy, right? Everybody was a member of Aces and Eights. It's like they were trying to out NWO the NWO, right? I was a member of the NWO, weren't you? I was also a member of Aces and Eights, weren't you? We all were. Had the vest. We all had the vest. What percentage of a chance do you give Shane McMahon AEW coming to terms and getting a deal done? I don't know if they're even talking about it. So that's first and foremost. I don't know if they're actually seriously talking about anything. Maybe they are. What's the percentages I think it's going to happen? I'll go 30%. I'll say 30%. Because I don't think anything's guaranteed. Of course. Not guaranteed that he won't, but it's definitely not guaranteed that he will. Again, I'll ask the question I asked 2 or 3 weeks ago, whatever it's been now. What does he bring to the table that you're not currently doing? Just because his name is Shane McMahon does not mean instant rate. Wait a minute. There we go. Doesn't mean instant ratings. It doesn't mean instant money to the table. It doesn't mean instant sponsors. So, what does he bring to your company that you do not currently have without him? Maybe there's answers to that. I don't know what they are, right? But if there are good, solid answers to that, then you'll see them. Yeah. But if not, you won't. I know that's a weird way to answer it. It's very black and white, but it's kind of where I'm at on the whole Shane McMahon AEW thing. Where you at? Fernando says, do you see Jericho is going back to WWE when his contract is up? I think anything's possible. I think that if he wants to control the way he's presented, and if he decides I've already been to that company and stayed there, that's why I left to begin with, because they were just going in circles. There was no new ground to tread, and he wasn't going to be allowed to do anything new. But in a couple, 2, 3 years, if he decides I'm done, I want to end this before my body shuts down or whatever that looks like, could I see him going back? Sure, I could. I don't know if I'd predict it, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Where he says they did an angle. I remember the angle thing with Hawks. Yeah. Oh, I get it. I thought you meant wearing the mask thing. Yeah, I remember that. Horrible, terrible idea. Remember they had him on the air acting like he was drunk? Terrible. What a downfall, man. The Road Warriors were listen, who's the greatest tag team of all time? Hawk and Animal. Stop. I don't want to hear anything else. You can have your favorites. You can talk to me all day about Team 3D or the Dudleys, and you could talk to me about Edge and Christian. Stop. It's Hawk and Animal. Sorry. Stop. Love the Hardy Boys. It's Hawk and Animal. Sorry. And I know maybe I'm jaded by my age. I'm jaded by X, Y, and Z. But Hawk and Animal were the greatest tag team of all time. Why? Because they sold more tickets than anybody else. And every company they went to, they were world champions. You want to know why? Not because they won titles, but because the promoter's like, put the belts on them, do it now. Because that promoter knew, I'm going to sell out the houses next month because they're here. How many tag teams? Be dead honest with me, kids. Dead honest. How many tag teams could write their own ticket in the past 30 years and sell out arenas all over the world? Be straight with me. Now, business changed from the 80s to now. I get it. I won't argue the semantics of it, okay? But be dead honest with me. We're talking about selling out. Could main event a card with Ric Flair on the show. I mean, and still sell the house out. It's Hawk and Animal. That Road Warrior pop's real. It's real. Look it up. Ray, we got you. Cypress Hill or Lords of the Underground? Cypress Hill. Part 2, Busta Rhymes or Biggie? I'll say Biggie, though I'm not happy about it. If Adam Cole invited you and your family to a director cut edition of Deadpool in his private movie house, and he said you could bring a friend, could I join? Yes. Later wanted to get dinner, which included barbecue chicken, cornbread, and apple pie. Could I join? Absolutely. And by the way, Deadpool and Wolverine is now officially the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. Congratulations to Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds, and Hugh Jackman. What a great movie. I'm telling you, it's a great freaking movie. 2 words. First one's F, second one's S. Fan service. Okay? Fan service in a big, bad, stinking way. Fan service, man. Make the fans happy. Make your fans happy, they'll never leave you. Make your fans happy, they'll come back for more. Make your fans happy, they will tell their friends how happy they are, and you'll sell more tickets. That's how you make a movie. That's how you build a pro wrestling show. Make your fans happy. It's not hard. It might take time. A lot of it has to be organic because you start off with no budget, but make your fans happy. Do right by your crowd, do right by your audience, and they will follow you to the end. Ryan Reynolds has geek cred for life. Ryan Reynolds could just about do anything now, and we're not letting go of him. He's our people. You know what I mean? Anytime Ryan Reynolds comes to town, I got a couch he can crash on. If he needs the space, he can have it. That's geek cred. All right? I'm just saying. Make the fans happy, and they'll stick with you to the end. Fernando, we're not talking about in the ring. I respect your opinion on the Steiner. We're not talking about in the ring. I'm talking about selling tickets. Could Rick and Scott Steiner main event all over the world and sell out houses in every town they went in? That's what I'm judging it on. Hawk and Animal, greatest tag team of all time because they made the most money. That's my gauge. That's my barometer. Look, Rick and Scott in their prime together. Wow. Right? I was there. I saw it live and as it happened. You're 100% right. But are they the greatest of all time? In my opinion, they are not. Nathan's spitting out Iconics nonsense in my show. By the way, you get huge points for attempting to spell it the way they spelled it. But you got to capitalize both I's in the beginning. But kudos for the attempt when Iconics return. No, with your crypto language, it ain't happening. I don't know. It could happen. They're still young enough, and I don't know what they want to do. Haven't they moved on, or am I crazy? Does anyone know about that? I thought they'd moved on by now. What about the Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express? 100% agree. Can't argue the fact. You have great teams, amazing teams. Okay. Road Warriors were world champions in Japan, and every company in this country were Ricky and Robert, were Stan and Bobby, were Dennis and Bobby. The answer is no. Doesn't mean they weren't awesome. Doesn't mean they're not living legends. Completely right. Okay? Rock and Roll Express, talk about a pop. Holy God. It was all girls. Who cared? Girls bought tickets. That's all that matters. Sell the tickets. Love those two teams, for sure. And in the ring, can work circles around Hawk and Animal. And guess who else tell you that? Hawk and Animal. For sure. For sure. But Hawk and Animal go to a company, guess what they could do? Blank check. How much you want? You got it. Go. Listen, if people didn't live through that time, they don't understand. Nathan will tell you. If people don't live through, Shane will tell you. If people don't live through that time, it's hard to understand. It's real hard. And it's fine if you don't. It's not you, but whoever. It's fine if people don't get it. I understand that totally. It's cool. But I promise you, just imagine every single time they were on the card, it was like watching Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's the biggest thing I compare it to. The biggest thing. And they dominated. Look, if not for Hawk and Animal, we don't know what tag team wrestling would have looked like in this country. This is a good story. In AWA, when Bruiser and the Crusher, they were coming out to the beer barrel polka, was their entrance music. Excuse me? Right? But that they got over the big stogies. They were, the big guts, like the beer guts and stuff. Hawk and Animal pressed them over their heads. Right? Like they weren't there, like they were babies, like they were big freaking fat toddlers with diapers on. Body press, lock your arms, boom, on your head. Not on your head, but you know what I mean. There was something to be taken, and they took it. They didn't wait for somebody to say, you will be the next great tag team. It has been anointed. The heck, they took it. They took it. They're part of the reason Crockett made so much money back in the day. And I guarantee you everybody that worked for Crockett would attest to that. They're a big part of the reason why Crockett made so much money. I'm just saying, it's a thing. Shane says, look how many teams copy the Road Warriors. Powers of Pain, Demolition, Stinging, Ultimate. Dude, yes. Preach. Montrese is here. Montrese. I don't air your business for everybody to hear, so I won't do it. But everybody do me a favor, say hello to Montrese, and please wish her well. Okay? Wish her well. Montrese is awesome, and please everyone say hello to her. And Montrese, I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing okay. I don't know if I can help you any, but if you ever want to chat about anything, my texts are not text, my instant message is wide open. So yeah, anything you need. And just hang in there. I know that sucks. It's crappy advice. Can't nobody help you right now, for sure. The only thing you can do is just keep moving. Got to keep moving forward. It's all you can do. I know that sucks. That's not the answer you want to hear, right? But always forward, always. It's all you got. It's all you got. But thank you for hanging out for a few minutes. You're the best. And my absolute best to you and yours for sure. Fernando says Road Warriors are having constant squash matches. Wait for Ultimate Warrior Goldberg. Yeah, because, well, to be fair, Fernando, freaking, you need to come on every week, man. This is awesome. You have engaged so much. I appreciate you. Very well done. Yeah, look, for sure. And look, they all did. The Horsemen did. The Rock and Roll Express did. The Midnighters did. I mean, they all did. All of them, because that's how you booked back in the day. TV wrestling was about showing off your stars and cutting promos to get people to buy tickets to the big show that's coming to town next month. That's what TV wrestling was for, to showcase your top talent and to build angles through promos and occasional pull-aparts and sometimes actual matches between top guys or a challenger and a top guy in an effort to sell tickets for the show coming up. That's all TV wrestling was. And squashes were used to showcase your stars. Let them show off. Nothing wrong with, you remember how, like when Wardlow had that string of squash matches in AEW, people had something to say. Get off the guy's back, man. Stop. Everybody's got an opinion on how to book everything, don't they? We all do it. But sometimes just stop and try to ask yourself, is there a plan here? I complain about AEW's spotty booking. I'm not going to back down from that. It's sporadic at best. If you tell me there's a plan, I'll laugh at you hard. But if I see a string of booking with a certain wrestler, a certain tag team, and there's patterns developing, I stick with it and see what happens. I may not like what happens. I may think it's weak or whatever, but plan it out. Do you know what I mean? Squashes were part of that back in the day. Let's show off our talent. Let's showcase them. We're top of the hour, kids. A few more minutes. We're going to take it home. Robbie says fantasy book, Midnight Express versus Rock and Roll Express versus is that the Rockers versus the Headbangers. First off, Robbie, can I just say you always have I'm going to put that back up. You always have original questions. So I appreciate you very much. And thank you for hanging out and for watching the show whenever I go live. You're awesome. But I'm going to tell you right now, the fact that you threw the Headbangers in this match, you know who this means the most to? Is the freaking Headbangers. Because they're your best friends right now. I promise you that. Wow. Yeah, that would have been interesting, I guess. But yeah, that's different. By the way, what show was I watching when I saw the Rockerplex? Was it that Ring of Honor show that I was watching, I think, from a few weeks ago? Someone did the Rockerplex. I forget who it was now. It may have been MXM, the male maximum models thing. By the way, I love that gimmick. I love it. I love that they kept it and that they're fleshing it out. I think it's awesome. Did the Road Warriors make more money for Crockett than Ric Flair? No chance. I don't know. I don't have receipts, but I would say Flair made more money for Crockett than anybody that had ever worked for him. Because it's guaranteed. Just like the Road Warriors, though. But see, Flair was on top all the time, right? People love to see that guy wrestle because most of the time they want to see him get his butt kicked. That's what it was all about. So that's my quick answer to that. Yeah. Where is Wardlow now? Didn't he get injured? Am I crazy? I thought he went out with another injury. See, Jeffrey, to your point, spotty booking in that company. Isn't that something? Shane says there was nothing like the Road Warriors coming to the ring with Iron Man playing. Oh my God. And remember, you'd get and you get the guitar riff, and you wouldn't get very far because they would like remember they would in the studio in TBS, they would bum rush the ring. Sam barely had a chance to play. In the arenas, it was harder because you had this massive humanity touching them on the shoulders and stuff as they went down the aisle. So it was tougher for them to run. But usually by the time they crawled in underneath the bottom rope, they completely destroyed who their opponents were and the match was over. Fun times. I miss those days. Fernando says the Rockers never winning the tag team championship was one of the biggest. They did win on non-televised match against the Hart Foundation. Remember that? Because that was a match where the rope broke. They didn't air it on TV, so the Rockers had the belts, but they didn't have the belts. Yeah. I don't know about biggest crime, one of the biggest crimes in wrestling history, but it always made me wonder or question why they didn't come back around to it. I just think that at some point, Shawn's talent was you just couldn't deny Shawn's level of talent. He was the breakout star. All due respect to Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty in his prime was a great freaking, I can't even call him a mechanic because I'm not trying to diss the guy in the ring at all. He was so good. And I'm sure Shawn will tell you, I learned so much from Marty because Marty was awesome. Chad Too Bad says, here's my question. I thought everyone knew wrestling is stage, but you see some of these sites where people comment like, when Seth just took time off to heal his injury, someone said Bronson Reed should be in jail for hurting Seth. You know what's awesome? First of all, you're right. But second, that's what makes it wonderful. It's one of the wackiest forms of entertainment on the planet. Nobody believes that Hugh Jackman hurt Ryan Reynolds or stabbed him with claws. People are able to clearly differentiate. Not all people. Most people are able to clearly differentiate the difference between Hollywood and real life. Not everybody can do it pro wrestling. Want to know why? Because there's always going to be a chance. There's always going to be a chance. Pro wrestling is that ex-girlfriend that leaves you hanging on. That makes sense? The one that never closed the door on the future. And no matter how many times you think you're over her, knock at your door, your phone goes off, there she is. Because it's the hope. It's the idea of, maybe she'll be back, right? Maybe I should know. I was that guy for years. Tom was clinically dumped all the time, baby. Let me just tell you. That was my life for a long time, brother. But that's kind of the same thing, right? Like there's always a chance. There's always a chance that it really happened. Always a chance. I'll give you an example. The Young Bucks in New Japan. Remember their run before AEW started? And I think wasn't it Matt that was selling the back, or was it Nick? I can't remember. He suddenly in a match pulled up like this and had a reaction. He didn't oversell it. It was very subtle. Just did this, right? That was all I did. That was all. But over the next several shows, got to be a little bit more. He'd take a back bump, just a regular back bump, and he'd slide out of the ring and go, oh, and you could see his eyes getting big. Well, this kept happening and kept happening and kept happening. I, like a lot of other people, said, I wonder if he's hurt, right? Then Kevin Kelly on commentary started saying, I think he might be hurt. Guess what? He wasn't hurt. There was nothing wrong. It was part of what they were working on. It was part of the angle. It was part of his character. It was what they wanted to include. So that's what they did. But we all thought, me included, because we think we're so smart. We all do, right? That's just an example. Because you're thinking, I wonder, it's always a possibility, right? Just saying, you're not wrong in what you said, Chad. But that's what makes the business keep going. That's what keeps it going, honestly, is that you can suspend disbelief. And there's all that, right? But some people suspend it to the point of they're allowing for the possibility that something actually happened. Something actually went wrong. Just remember this. The Brett and Sean stuff in WWE didn't start off that way. When it started off, their plan was to beat each other. They didn't clue in the boys in the locker room or anybody else. I don't even know if Vince knew about it. Their plan was to go at each other in the locker room and everywhere they could to start building the illusion, okay, that they hated each other. That's how it started. None of that was real. Now, it became real. By the time Montreal got here, it was crazy real. But for the first, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a year, it wasn't real. They were fine. They had mutual respect. They were good with each other. They protected each other in the ring. They were fine. But in the beginning, they wanted you to, so we all believed it. But the truth is that angle didn't start off that way, and they've both admitted to that. That angle did not start off with them truly hating each other. It ended like that. That's not how it began. It began that way from perception because that's what they wanted you to think. I love pro wrestling. As wacky of a business as it is, I love it. Shane said everybody talks about the Rockers. You had to see the Fantastic. I love the Fantastics. The Fantastics were the epitome of the white meat babyface tag team. They were like two Ricky Steamboats. Remember they'd clap, yeah, all the time, yeah, doing this and high fiving. They had little bow ties. They were awesome. They were awesome. Fun tag team. They were a fill-in when the Midnight Express left at one point. Yeah, great fill-in team. They're underrated. I'll give you that. Completely underrated. Fantastic. By the way, great name. Simple, very effective. All right, kids. We have went an hour and some change. And I think we're going to take this home. Jeffrey acknowledging that it was Nick. Thank you, Jeff. I can't remember which guy it was. But yeah. All right, kids. That's going to do it for us here today. We went an hour and 13 minutes. I want to thank each and everybody for being here today with me. Very much appreciated. We will be back a week from today. You know, if everything goes well, we should be back a week from today. If anything changes, I will definitely let you know. But in the meantime, do me a favor. Boink Studios, BOINK, boinkstudios.com. Check us out there. Check us out on YouTube at Boink Studios. Also, check me out on Substack and on Medium to read my latest writing. Again, it's very much appreciated. You guys are the best. Do me a favor. Share the show wherever you can. Share Boink Studios. Bookmark it today. Please subscribe on YouTube. That means loads to me too. You guys are the best. I very much appreciate your time. Do me a favor, everybody out there. Have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves this week. Watch you some wrestling. Next week, we're going to be talking about some All In and some other stuff coming up. May even have some guests on next week, so stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot, kids, for hanging out. We'll see you next time. And keep hanging in there, folks. Thanks much for tuning in. We appreciate you. See you later, kids.